I also think though, you when you start talking about governance, you're also talking about culture.
True.
And it's culture of the management team. And so even though they might be managers over a certain functional area, they have to really understand how their action affects people downstream and ultimately the recipient of the service that's being delivered. If they don't understand where they fit, they'll optimize something for themselves, which will make it worse. They might save money for in their own group, but it costs 5 times more to fix it later because we didn't get it right up front. Even though their budget might have to go up and others might go down. You have this very, very challenging issue about sorting all that stuff out.
I think
we're now playing with the executives' processes. That's what we're doing.
I think you said understanding your customers is key if you have to really solve problems, because that level of detail people don't have in the business. They're just about, okay, this is a touch point, and if I solve this, I'm good. But then how is the other guy going to get into the shoes of the real guy who's going to use it? So that's really key.
Right on. And also a large part of that comes down to the fact that people are not measured on end-to-end results. They're measured on their department and their group. Okay. And when everybody's working towards their own measures, which might be counterproductive to what the customer values, I think getting that alignment is critical.
You kind of preempted my next question, which was about you said in your stuff that we changed the org chart to reflect the value chain. Can you explain that a bit? Because org charts are very political in nature. They're decided by the internal management, and you go wearing a consultant hat and say, okay, this is how we need to change these boxes. How does that? How easy is it to convince, or how difficult it has been to make that change? Based on the value streams?
Again, I think it's really interesting.
Very radical, actually. That's a very radical thought.
It is. It is. Well, because executives are very happy to change the responsibilities of the frontline workers and the behavior and culture and how they're measured. They're not so quick to change themselves.
True. Change is hard and.
Yeah, but they're fine when it comes to other people having to change, but not for themselves. And so that's you're fighting. You have a resistance from the people who are the most powerful.
True.
So you have to fight this challenge between, if we don't make these changes, we're going to suffer as an organization. Okay. We're not going to do well, and none of us will do well in the medium to long term. So it requires some tough executive decisions about how we're going to manage. Interestingly enough, I find that family-owned companies are much better at it than organizations which are, basically traded on a stock exchange, where short-term results are good because everybody will get bonuses. But in family-run businesses, the family is very concerned about the long-term value of the asset called the organization that they built. And so you tend to get a much more longer-term thinking, not always, but much more a tendency to think, what's this going to be like in 5 years, as opposed to, will I get my bonus next year?
True. I think probably due to the fact that they have tighter control or grip on the business than privately traded company, wherein they're answerable to the stock shareholders and the board and so many other entities. Here it is, I think the grip on the business is quite, so it's easier for them to make the changes that you probably would advise them.
But at the same time, we've seen other organizations, there's a very strong movement right now towards self-management, where the elimination of hierarchy.
True.
If you look at some of Doug Kirkpatrick's work.
Yeah, I think you only mentioned about Zappos getting away with zero management, and they're trying to move with completely self-managed workforce.
A better example actually is Morningstar. They make tomato products in California. They started out with no management structure at all, and they're the most profitable, the biggest, highest quality. Everybody loves to work there. They don't lose staff. People feel empowered, and it's all negotiated amongst peers. To me, that's sort of the ideal level 5 type of organization, but there aren't many. But people are definitely experimenting with this model now.
True. I think they have this many movements called holocracy, agenda
Yeah,
shift, and those kind of
same
frameworks.
thing.
Yeah. So they're like, you guys decide whom you want to work with, the buddy culture. But at the end of the day, you're measured on the outcomes that you bring to the table. And, it's not that you just walk away without any responsibility, but
Well,
you do have, you're
as
answerable
as
to the deliverable.
but as Doug Kirkpatrick says at Morningstar, he said, well, it wasn't like we don't have management. We just don't have managers.
Oh.
So we still, a matter of fact, it's quite interesting that if there are issues to be dealt with in a flatter organization like that, it comes to light much sooner because you don't have to worry about reporting up and down the org chart and people not looking good.
Correct. Some people might think it's too utopian, but I think, as you said, it's about time companies actually are gravitating towards that with social distancing also there. I think
That's
probably
very true.
the future is going to go that way, whether
Exactly.
that's going to be more, because that's how there's no longer a hierarchy. It's all like dots connecting to dots and then solving problems.
They still have processes, they still have data, they still have IT, they still have roles and responsibilities, they still have performance measurement and management. It's not like they don't have all those things. It's just that the structure underneath it is a little bit different. But it's a massive cultural shift. Like Morningstar, which I say is the best example I've seen, they started from day one with that model.
Oh,
so that made it a little bit easier.